PERI. Today we have with us Perry Beals. We're doing the interview series where we'll do these on a regular basis. And we are so excited to have Perry with us, who I know as Psychic Perry. Hello, Perry.
Oh,
Welcome. I've known Perry for about maybe 18 months. Perry, I think I started the course. It would be getting to 2 years actually now since I started Psychic Mastery Ones with Nancy Rebecca. But Tanya and Perry have never met before, so this is their first time going. We're going to ask you a few questions and just get to know you a little bit, if that's all right, Perry. My first question is, you're a psychic, obviously. We've said Psychic Perry. When you were a young child, did you, like, it's not a mainstream job, did you wake up and, and everyone else wanted to be a doctor or a scientist? Do you want to be a psychic, or is this something that's come to you in the later years?
yeah, definitely come to me in later years. I actually didn't realize I wanted to be a psychic until about 3 months into the Psychic Mastery course. And we started doing readings, and it was like, oh, yeah, obviously I'm supposed to be doing this. But as a kid, I was just kind of hid behind my mom's leg a lot, I think.
So what was your childhood like? Do you have intuitive abilities, or did you know that was part of who you were?
When I look back, I understand that I definitely did have psychic abilities. I think before the age of 3, I must have been quite powerful, and that there was a bit of a transition between the ages of 2 and 3 for me that I don't want to say my soul was crushed, but that's kind of when I look back at it through the timeline, that's sort of what it feels like. I have always been really in tune to what people are doing and what people are saying. So really hyper focused on the details. I can always tell if somebody's mad at me. I can always tell if something's going on around me. But I didn't quite know that that was psychic ability. I could just see, I can see that their eyebrow raises a little bit or whatever it is, and kind of playing that off because I grew up in an environment that was such that I really had to be aware of the energies around me. Looking back, I understand this. At the time, I just knew that I was in sort of preservation mode, so really hyper aware of details. So, yeah.
I think that's a really important point to share, is that people that do grow up in a traumatic type environment, they get very good at reading the energy in a room and picking up on body language and all of those different things. But I would suspect that what you were probably psychically picking things up as well, but just not realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I finally did realize that I was psychic and could kind of look back over the course of relationships that I had had in my life, I could see so many places where I got into trouble. So many places where I knew something about somebody, especially with couples or with friends who were, I could see the end coming, or I could see the little details that they didn't see in their relationship. I had this gut feeling, and I was trying to help them. I was trying to get that information across. And as we know, as intuitive individuals, unsolicited advice is rarely well received. So I know that my psychicness caused a lot of trouble in relationships for me in my life. Looking back, at the time, I just thought everyone was just oblivious. I thought everybody knew the things that I knew, and I just had to help them see what I saw.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I can so relate to that. And it was like someone would say, "Oh, well, I'm angry about this," and you're looking at them going, "No, you're not. You're this is what's actually going on, right?" And I assumed that people had the awareness that I have, and they don't. I love that.
And that's important to remember, even as adults, when you're talking to children, or if you have children or nieces and nephews, that those children often have abilities that we're not acknowledging. And I think we will do it more, obviously, because we also have found that a language for what we had back then. But, giving that child the chance to know that they might just know more than the average person, or that there is an intuitive or a psychic sort of ability to what they've got, and not to squash that, because I think that's what happens. And then we grow up, and it's not until we almost find ourselves again at another age that we can put a language to it and you know, that sort of stuff. And in that, obviously, so you're a young child, you've got these abilities, but they're not abilities to you, they're just the way of life. You then come across Nancy Rebecca, you talked about the course. How did you find Nancy? Like, what sort of age were you when you sort of came into play with her, and you know, what led you there, I suppose, as well?
So I was with a group of friends who had started seeing Nancy for bones readings, and was encouraged to go and have a bones reading with her, which I did in, I guess it would have been 2017. So had a bones reading, and as soon as I sat down, she just was like, "Who are you? Like, who are you? How have you come to be here?" And the messages that she gave me just really validated a lot of understanding of the power that I had, and who I was. So I saw her for a couple of more bones readings, and then eventually sat with her in, she used to offer these weekend courses, Discovering Your Intuitive Mind. So I took the Discovering Your Intuitive Mind weekend course in 2018, I guess it was. And I just remember coming home from the first night of it, and I sat down on my floor and I just cried and cried and cried and cried, because what I had understood in there was so powerful for me. It wasn't even really about my psychic ability. It was just kind of like about the world. Like, this whole understanding opened up for me with just this little bit of technique that she taught us, about being grounded. I had never been grounded before. I didn't know what I could know if I wasn't just spiraling like a crazy person all around, you know? So it took me a year after that, that I finally, I received the email that said, "We're opening Psychic Mastery 2." And my spirit was like, "Yes, you will." And I was like, "No, I won't." "No, please don't," you know? And I asked for a sign, "Give me a sign." I went to a gas station and the auto shut off on the pump happened. And I felt, saw, sensed, I don't even know what it was. I don't even know how it came, but the number 2071. And when I turned around and looked, the gas station pump had turned off at $20.71. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm psychic.
Oh, I got
Yes. All
goosebumps.
right.
There it
I guess
is.
I'll go in." So it wasn't something that I really thought about a lot. It was just kind of like this massive shove from the universe. "You will do this, and you will do it now." And that's just the end of it. So yeah. And the
Yeah,
beginning.
Nettie and
Let's say
I both very much have similar experiences where we're, being sort of shoved by spirit
that.
to go in a particular direction. And the reality is that if we don't listen, it doesn't go well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
True.
how do you go from that? You're doing this course. Do you tell anyone? Like, how do you now go from your friends who thought you were like, wanting a better way, just normal, to, and even like for both Tanya and I, it was kind of like we didn't talk that language for a reason. It didn't fit in our lives. And it's like, now, okay, you've realized that, all right, I've kind of known this all my life, but now it's coming to me bang in my face. I'm starting this course, or I'm, going to live a little bit of this life. Did you tell anyone, or did you, closet it?
I came right out. I mean, I came out pretty quickly. And obviously my website is Psychic PERI. I use the word psychic, which it makes me slightly uncomfortable. It makes people like raise their eyebrows. And I think that's part of it for me too, is kind of reclaiming that. But I came out pretty quickly, and pretty hard, using the P word like that. And
The P word.
yeah, I pretty much was like, "I'm a professional psychic now, just so everybody knows." And I'm, there's a few raised eyebrows, but for the most part, people are like, "Cool, what does that even mean?" Like, everybody wants to have a conversation about it. So maybe I'm just have surrounded myself with people that don't care. I've done enough weird things in my life that people are kind of expecting that from me. It's like, okay, I guess Perry's a psychic now, I guess we'll do that. But I feel like it makes a lot of sense for people now that they know, because just like it made sense for me when I realized it, it kind of puts who I am and who I've been and how I interact with people into a box, for lack of a better word, that people can understand. "Oh, you're a psychic. Okay, that's why you're kind of weird. That's why you're kind of like, we do weird like eyebrow raising things." So yeah, right. Came out really quickly. Yeah.
What was your day job prior to your psychicperry.com?
Well, gosh, I had a long career. It's hard to say what my previous job was because I kind of had an existential crisis. I've kind of had several existential crises over the course of my life, so I've left a few things. A big bulk of what I did was in sales. I was a traveling shoe salesman for many years. Went into corporate shoe sales for a few years before I just kind of like had my first crisis and sold everything and went to India for a while to think I was going to become a yoga teacher, right? Because that's the only thing that felt good. And then I kind of came back and dabbled in sales a little bit, but in a different way. I worked for an ice cream shop here in Tacoma. I worked as a grocery buyer at a little co-op. But I'd been doing some organizing. When I went into psychic mastery, it was because I thought I was going to expand my professional organizing business, which is what I was calling it at the time. What I understand now is that we're calling it spatial reclamation and organization. It's organizing of the physical possessions, which are the manifestation of the energy in your
Yeah.
mind. So it really is the same thing that I was doing all along. But I've always really liked organizing categories. Even when I was selling shoes, I was like, spreadsheets. Ooh, we got our spreadsheets, printing out my map quest so I could drive around the state. I mean, just organizing was my life, really. So.
And I know that you're a talented singer too.
I am, yes, definitely. I'm a
Yeah.
singer. Yeah, I am a
No.
singer. So there's some music coming. Part of being with you guys here today, and part of the mission in my life right now is to remember my voice, to remember why am I here? I'm obviously here because I'm supposed to be making some noise. What is the way that I'm supposed to be doing that? And
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we're
that was the
lucky
answer to
that
that.
that's where you're at, because we love having you on. And we also just it's just popped into my mind, and I'm going to ask you this because Tanya and I, on one of our podcasts in our series 2, I think number 7, we spoke about the Indigenous Canadian
Medicine wheel.
American, yeah, medicine wheel. And I know that you have a really strong connection to the Native American people within your community. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that fits into the psychic PERI as well, or whether it does?
Yeah, I definitely, I find myself here. I should have said that right off the bat. I am on Puyallup land here in Tacoma, Washington, in the Coast Salish region here, and uh, was invited to a sweat lodge a handful of years ago. There's a community sweat lodge here with the Puyallup people. They are just beautiful, warm, and welcoming people, and was invited there and began to hear some of the stories of the folks in this place. And my family came to this land in the late 1800s. So I am fifth generation Tacoman here. And hearing some of the stories of the Puyallup people and the Nisqually people and many different tribes around here that I get to hear speak, just began to sort of put together the connection of, oh, when those boarding schools, the Catholic boarding schools were being built,
I know.
my Catholic family was arriving here and taking the land, So yeah, so just trying to be respectful of the people who are here and to really take the opportunity, the privilege that I have in having been invited into these spaces to hear the impact of the behavior, to hear the impact of the trespass of my family, and to begin to sort of come to terms with that in my bones, and praying for the healing of my bloodline relations, and just doing whatever I can to be respectful and to honor the ways of this place, and to remember how to pray, and to remember how to live in community, and to remember the values of this place, which are really, I mean, Puyallup means like warm and welcoming people. It means bend in the river. There's many different things that it can mean, but um, learning from the people of this place what it is that my ancestors forgot on the way here. And um, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. I can't
No,
even remember what the question.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you're actually
relationship I
answering
have.
in a way that makes sense with what we have been talking about for that time. And it's been getting back in touch with your land and with community and with what we lost 100 years ago or so, and that, or even more in some places, that we're now trying to get back to, and to even get peace spiritually within yourself. Part of that is, the answer is through that. And it's interesting that you've been drawn to that kind of learning, I suppose, and healing in that way too. So
Yeah, it feels I was gonna say it feels painful often, you know, but this is why we go into the sweat lodge to sort of suffer in that way.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's beautiful. The specific question was about what's your understanding of the medicine wheel? Because it actually, Spirit was showing me the Indigenous medicine wheel in relation to the Merkaba and the different spiritual teachings that Spirit's giving us. So I was wondering what your understanding was of the medicine wheel.
you know, I don't have a lot of understanding of the medicine wheel. I know of it. I definitely pray to the four directions, and I call in the different colors and the animals that speak to me and the energies of the four directions. But I actually don't have much to say
Gotcha.
about the medicine wheel because it's not the teachings haven't come to me yet.
Yeah, you're well above what we are, because even being aware of it, I didn't even know it exists. In saying that, you know, I am going to source a similar thing within my own Indigenous people to find out what was there. That's always been a gap for me. And I know that one of the reasons we connected was on Nancy Rebecca's, when I had an Indigenous elder that is often with me come in, and the energy in the room was huge. And yeah, it was when PERI just went, right, we're going to connect. And we did since then, which was great. But so I'm, you know, it's a learning and a growth for me to do that. So it's interesting that you're even aware of it, because Tanya brought it up and I had no idea what it was. So yeah, it's very parallel to the download that we got. So it's like, which doesn't surprise me at all, that downloads throughout the ages are actually coming back to the core sort of message that Spirit's trying to give humanity across the board. When we talk about, you know, we're just mentioning a download, and Tanya actually had some visions herself of that. That's how she knew what that symbol was, and it matched the symbol for me. How does psychic PERI get, you know, what are your signs? Do you hear things, see things, all of the above? Like what would we expect when we came to see you? And yeah.
I just gotta say, I'm like so pleased to hear you say psychic PERI a million times. It's like that's how I refer to myself in my own head, but to hear somebody else say it a bunch is like
I am getting so validated right now.
it feels so nice. Yeah.
Stop, but don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I get information? Well, you know, my primary sense is in just knowing things, but the more that I practice, the more I can begin to discern where that knowing comes from. It comes in flashes of seeing, it comes in flashes of hearing, it comes in flashes of feeling within my body or sensing that really my body and my energy field are the instrument that things come through. And like I said, with the childhood, where it's like I can see somebody's eyebrow raise a little bit. Okay, I can see this little tiny. Sometimes I pick up on things around me that are physical, and there's just a very clear knowing that comes through those things. So always, I guess.
So do you connect with Spirit?
I do. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
the way the way I kind of describe it is that I channel my own spirit. So my spirit is that part of great spirit that is within me. You have your own spirit that is part of great spirit within you. My spirit and your spirit connect where we are great spirit together, and my spirit has a conversation with your spirit. So part of my work here is in learning to hold really good boundaries. I don't go into anybody's energy field at all. I stay firmly rooted here on my own side, but my spirit can have a conversation with your spirit. So what I tell you, what comes through in a reading for me is sort of like the purified version of whatever your spirit is saying, because it has to come through my head. It has to come through my mouth. Yeah, exactly. And through my experience. So so there is a little bit of PERI flair. So Yeah, so it tends to be pretty straightforward, sometimes a little bit goofy, and sometimes there's swearing. So
Sorry, was that a psychic Perry flare?
yeah, it's a Perry. My grandma used to call it my Perriness. She used to greet me as hello, my Perriness, and so
Oh,
that's
I
kind of how
love
I
that.
think of it. As, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to call you psychic periness. So why would, like, you're obviously working now as a full-time psychic. So what sort of people do you see? Like, who knocks on Psychic Perry's door, and yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Honestly, the people who knock on my door are the ones who have something to teach me, and that seems to be running the gamut at this point. A lot of different people, and it kind of shifts over time depending on what it is that my spirit is wanting to learn. Because this is about mutual healing. Like if you think you're coming to see a psychic that's like fully enlightened and healed, then you will be sorely mistaken. I'm a human and I am still healing myself. So, um, I somebody mentioned the phrase the other day, like spiritual misfits. Like the people that come to me are the ones who kind of like, don't fit in the box, or they kind of don't know where they fit in. They're looking for direction. They're looking for clarity, and they know like there is some gut instinct within them that they already know, right? The people who come to see me, you got to know that you already know. I'm not going to give you the answers. I'm not going to predict the future from you. I'm not going to give you any advice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear whatever is blocking you from knowing. So if you want to know what you already know, come and see me.
Yeah.
If you want answers from some mystical being who's going to like tell you the future, then I'm probably not the one for you.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I think what you said is exactly what we all do, is we can get through that fear or those energy blocks that are actually there and see the answer. And so sometimes for people it's hard to do that. And so you get there and you can't see it, and you think but you're just going, how much is bias? I feel like that's where I'm going, but I'm not quite sure. I've got a girlfriend who has seen you several times and she just absolutely adores you. I think she saves up to see you again. That's her kind of thing. Because she knows that you give her what's within her, what she's having trouble seeing. And she 100% you use her symbols and her language when you're talking to her, which you're fully not aware of. And I think that's the thing of someone who has a really good psychic connection, is where they are literally doing what you said. They're drawing out not the PERI symbols, they're drawing out the Nettie or the Tanya symbols. And then you go, okay, like I'm going to go and sit on that, because you've just answered what I needed to hear and what I was trying not to hear in half the time. It was like I was afraid of, or I was, or it's not what I was afraid of. So it's another path, thank God, like I had that so built up that was my direction and that would be it, that I didn't want to look. And you're going, no, I see this. And like, okay. So, I've seen you work with people and I've seen that happen. And I think that's an amazing talent for people, for sure.
One thing that you said that I loved is you said that you're still very human. And that's something that Nettie and I talk a lot about, is because I think one thing that came in this download is that Spirit was concerned that people were kind of receiving this message and having this false expectation of what spirituality looks like and what being spiritual looks like, and that what being moving into this awakening, what that looks like. That now all of a sudden, we're going to be seeing extraterrestrials, or we're going to be seeing all these different things. And what's happening for people is they're not, and they're like, well, what am I doing wrong? And so one thing that Nettie and I are really trying to keep real is we're just real. We're normal human beings that happen to have these abilities. But even though we can come onto these podcasts, or you come and you can talk to us about these wonderful experiences of yours, it doesn't remove you from having to go through those human experiences yourself. So can you expand on that? Tell me more about that, and how you kind of, like, when you're doing a reading, obviously you're really presenting your gifts to people, but outside of a reading, what's that like for you? How do you kind of keep it real? Does my question make sense?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I am a human, and I firmly believe that we choose our body based on the lessons that our spirit wants to learn, right? So my spirit came into this body to learn exactly the lessons that I'm supposed to learn. So um, as a human, like outside of just like being a psychic, I'm just trying to learn my lessons, right? So that looks like a lot more trying to listen, a lot more trying to be on the receiving end of things as opposed to always offering, right? I think at some point I forgot that it was about listening. And so, like I said before, I was always trying to like give people advice. Oh, I see this thing, so I need to help them to understand it. Whereas sort of in my personal life, moving back into a place of being the the prayer of Saint Francis wants to come out right now for me for some reason. It's like grant that I may not seek so much to be loved as to love, to be like to be have things to be understood as to understand, you know, these kind of things. So as a human, in my just like normal periness outside of the psychic periness, uh, recognizing that I'm here to learn lessons, and learning those lessons in the best way that I can, even when they are painful sometimes for me, or even
Even
when
when
I
they're
am massively
hashtag
humbled.
bullshit. Even when they're
Yeah.
hashtag bullshit and total
Oh,
crap.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I like if I can get outside of being pissed off at things, like the people who piss me off the most are the ones that I'm like, wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't have to tell them that. I don't have to like put them up on their pedestal or anything, but I'm so thankful for those ones who can show me a different part of myself. Because if they pissed me off, it's because either it's something I am doing for somebody else, doing to somebody else, or something I'm not seeing about myself. And I want to, like, one of my missions in life is to be aware of as much as it is humanly possible to be aware of. And so those people that piss me off, yes, they still piss me off, but also bring it, trigger me, bring it on, like help me to learn my lessons. That's why I came here. And in learning these lessons, I become a better healer, right? Is that like every shit experience that I have allows me to know somebody else's experience in a little bit of a different way too.
And it will give us that compassion and that empathy for the people that sit in front of us. But two, I don't welcome lessons quite as joyfully as you do. I grudgingly trudge through them. I find it tough. I've had up plenty, and you know, sometimes I'm kind of done. At the end of the day, though, I do end up sort of getting to that place of thank you for this experience, because I mean, we're all just kind of players, right? Running around creating these lessons for each other. But I love that. I love the
Well,
human piece. I love the
I
keeping
was
it
gonna say,
real
don't get me
piece.
wrong. Don't think that I'm like all nice and be like, oh, thank you for this beautiful lesson. When I'm in it, I'm like, I hate you. Stay away from me. Why you do that? You know, it's like I am definitely not. When I'm in it, I'm not that pretty. But rare is the time when I can't come to the understanding at some point of why it's happened to me. So.
It's the overarching gratitude and understanding, isn't it? Like, and it's often on the other side. Like when we're out of it, we look back
on the other side.
yeah, where they're going,
Yeah.
oh, I understand the lessons of that, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's what we do actually hear a lot of people saying, you know, I understand the lessons, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, shit, you know, like this is really hard. But we all go through that. So even if you see a spiritual leader or like someone who you think is just like absolutely amazing in that world, they still did the hashtag bullshit. This is, I don't want this anymore. You know, why are you doing this to me? So it's just that we get to see the pretty side of them at the other end saying how wonderful it is. And, you know, we definitely don't get that only that picture with you, PERI. You come across with such rawness, which is what I love about
and
you.
authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it was really interesting at the start when you said when you met Nancy Rebecca, you realized we weren't grounded, because you are one of the most grounded people that I know. So you've obviously worked really hard at making sure that you have that grounding and have that balance. You know, I can see a real hourglass balance when I look at you, which is just really lovely to see. But you've worked.
Queen's got to open up the throat so we can let it flow a little better.
But you've worked at it. Like, you've worked at it physically, you've worked at it, you've worked on your grounding, you've worked on your intuitiveness. It's not just that you woke up one day and thought, I'm just going to sit for 7 hours in meditation and this is just going to happen. You know, there's been a lot, and you've trialed a lot of different things in your life too, you know, and I think that's a really important message for people. Like, you follow someone, or you follow a method of someone, and you're going, this just doesn't feel right for me. And yeah, it's you know, it's putting it back in there. Have you had examples where you can sort of go, you were leading up a path and realize that this isn't my path, I've learned enough from this, and known when to pull back, like for other listeners?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel like that's what my life has been, is a series of false starts, which led me to the next false start, which led me to the next false start. I mean, when I left my corporate gig, it was because I was going to go to India and be a yoga teacher. And I got 3 weeks in and was like, oh, I'm definitely not supposed to be a yoga teacher. Okay, so I went back to India. Okay, I'm going to go to this ashram. Maybe I'm supposed to be in the ashram. Nope, definitely not supposed to be following that guru. Okay, maybe I thought, okay, maybe I'm gonna go and maybe I'll be a nun. I'll go to this nunnery. Nope, absolutely not. So yeah, many, many different twists and turns but and those are part of it, right? Those are like part of my learning is I do believe that we've lived infinite lives, and in other lives I have been a nun, and I have been a monk, and I have been in the ashram, and I have been the yoga teacher. So those kind of false starts were a sort of remembering of who I used to be, and kind of coming into that remembering of that knowledge from that life, be like, oh, okay, yep, no, I remember doing this. I remember what I need to learn here, and now I can go and sort of like expand on that with whatever is the next thing. So
Nettie was saying that when you do your readings, that you do art with it.
I do,
I was
yeah,
about to get to
sometimes. Yeah, you about to get to the art. Yeah, yeah, I
Tell
do.
me
I do.
about that.
Before you say
Yeah,
anything, if anyone has not seen PERI's art, you need to go onto your Facebook. What's your Facebook, PERI?
Perry Beals.
PERI Beals. Really easy, right? BEELES. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Perry is PERI.
Yeah. So go onto that, because you can watch her do this live. Like, she does the camera over fast thing. And I also saw your first one that you did ages ago too, which was super cool. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I just, I actually, I have a friend who offered a handful of years ago. I can't even remember what he called it, but it was the first time I'd ever drawn anything, the first time I'd ever done art, maybe not ever, but in many, many years, that was like, oh, I might be an artist, huh? I had no idea I was an artist, right? This is how my life works, where I just kind of like brush everything under the rug and eventually it all comes out. But he taught a technique of releasing perfectionism. Basically, I just how did I start this time? What do I want to get to here? Somebody gave me a box of crayons for my birthday a few years ago, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to be an artist, because I thought you needed something special. You need some art easel, or you need to be able to paint. You need to take a class. You need to have a pottery wheel, or all these different things, right? And somebody just handed me a box of crayons, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And when I started, I didn't even choose the color. I would just literally pick a crayon out of the box, and just like a little kid would, I'd just start scribbling with it. And I'd pick another color and I'd start scribbling with it. And eventually, and very, very quickly, this kind of morphed into some different ways where I would choose the color, and then I would add a little bit of black. And what I'm doing now, the evolution, I take out a black crayon, I scribble some shape, and then I start to hear spirit say, oh, that piece should be blue. So I pick up a blue and I do it. That piece should be green. I just kind of hear the colors come in now. It comes into my ears. And I just color, and eventually something takes shape. So yeah, they're really curious little creatures. I feel like they're like channeled. They're not exactly me, right? That they're like, because oftentimes they look like little living things, and they have so much personality. And I love rainbows, and I just love to scribble. But when I do it, I'm not going in saying like, oh, I want this to look like something, because I don't do art that looks like stuff. I can't say, I want this to look like something, and I'm always dissatisfied. I'm always, the perfectionist in me comes out and it's like, oh, that's not good enough. But if I go in without a clue of what I'm doing, it's amazing because something cool comes out.
So can you channel into me and kind of do a drawing, not now, but a person?
Ooh, I'll do it. Can you do it?
And do a drawing
Yeah.
that represents them, like, and what is it representing? Is it their aura? Is it their, what is it?
Yeah, so it took me a little while to figure out what is it, because yes, I can do this for people. I often actually I find myself doing it for when people have crossed over sometimes, where it's like somebody's relative has passed away, and I draw something as a memorial, and when it comes out, it's like so much like that person that it's really surprising. What I understand it to be now is that it's whatever your spirit wants you to see, which is exactly the same things I do in my readings. I write the date on the back. I write your name on the back. I flip the paper over and I ground in and I say, Spirit, show me what this person wants to see today. And your spirit sort of tells my spirit, and then I just start going, and they're just amazing. They're amazing drawings.
So can, after this, over the next day or two, can you do one of these, like with Tanya in mind? And I will add it to the end of this podcast, so that people who are watching and people listening, you're just going to have silence, but you'll have to watch. I'll just put it onto the one that obviously we can hear, but those who are listening only, jump onto the Facebook, because I'll also put it and tag you onto PERI Beale's Facebook as well. But yeah, and then we'll get to see Tanya from the inside.
It's not so not necessarily not necessarily see you, but we're just going to see whatever your spirit wants you to see today that I have the capacity to offer you. How about that?
Oh, that is really neat. Honestly, I think that's the first time that I've heard of that, is somebody doing a drawing. That is so cool.
Yeah,
You're
I'd love
cool,
to.
PERI.
Yeah, I'd love to get
PERI.
these for my girlfriends. Like, what a beautiful birthday present for someone is to say, like, get this unique kind of spiritual connection that spirit wants them to see. I think it's really good. So on that, you can organize to get these from me. Like, can you jump on to your website or to Facebook and request it? How does that work?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can send me a Facebook message, or you can go through the best way. Facebook is okay, but I'm kind of like, Facebook is Facebook. A little much for me. I feel slightly overstimulated with all the binging and dinging. If you go to my website and just go to the contact me button. It's not listed on the prices or anything right now. They take 15 minutes or a half an hour, depending on how mad fast I can scribble, because I do work pretty quick. Half an hour is a nice, easy amount of time. I can get one done in 15 minutes. It's just a little rougher, but yeah, you can just send me a message through the contact me section and say that you want an intuitive drawing that is whatever your spirit wants you to see, and then I'll do that for you. Yeah. And then yeah, there's a little bit of shipping that goes along with it, kind of depending on where in the world you are and how much it costs. Most places in the US, it only costs $5 to ship.
Okay.
And to book a reading with you, is it half hour, an hour? How does that work?
I actually am doing anywhere from 15 minutes up to 2 hours now, giving a really broad price range. I worked at a little mystic shop for about 8 months, and in that capacity, they invited me to do the 15-minute reading because it's cheap, it's quick, it's kind of like the wham bam, thank you ma'am of readings, but I got really good at them, and it's really fun. And they're also only $30. So anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours, I can do a reading, and half an hour or an hour feels really good, or more, of course. But we can do it in 15 minutes.
About $30 American dollars per hour, per quarter of an hour. Yeah. So exactly. If you wanted an hour, it's $120. Yep. That type of thing. Yeah. Okay. That's easy. And I love that you give a price for everyone, because we all got different funds and different things like that. So you're actually letting everybody access you, which is really good, because often when we are in our most traumatic stages, we can't see clearly, and we can't connected to our own spirit the way that we want to. So they're the times where maybe financially or whatever, we're just not doing as well. So it's like, it's lovely that, you know, you can go in and know that in 15 minutes, if that's all you can afford, that you can still get a really good message. And I've watched PERI do this. Like, we used to have a thing called Mentoring Monday on the course that we did. And PERI was like the golden child. Like, there's, you know, 100 people on it, between 50 and 100 people each time on this. And you would feel the energy shift when PERI got asked to read for someone. And like, these are random people with just asking a random question, and she would just go in, and because I'm pretty intuitive, right, I would get these pictures popping up, and you're not meant to do that, so I'm trying to hold my pictures back, and PERI would just be boom 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 with matching pictures to what I'm saying. And I'm like, so I knew, like, she's not making this up, like, she's the real deal. And then as I watched her more and more, I was just like, the depth that she would find, and she would go back and find these energy blocks, or, you know, that she would be able to say someone from your ancestry, blah, blah, blah. And then you'd get to talk to the person afterwards, and they'd go, yeah, they came as immigrants here. They, you know, they hoarded, they were, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, it was, I loved it. I was a junkie. I was a Mentoring Monday junkie, and hopeful that PERI was on. So, like, seriously, PERI, you are the absolute psychic PERI real deal. I love it. And in saying that, I hear that you've got a new offering, which is just coming up, which is actually to get mentoring from you. Is that right? And how does that work?
Absolutely. We're going to do some, what are we calling these things? Psychic mentorship circles. It's going to be a year-long program. We're going to have, it's going to be like, I haven't decided on the exact dates yet, but it'll be an hour and a half meeting once a month for 12 months, max 10 people. So you'll kind of move through with a group. I'll offer just a little teaching at the beginning, a guided meditation. The bulk of it is going to be open for sort of mentorship questions and answers, sort of understanding of your experience. And, you know, I thought about writing out kind of syllabus or something, and kind of decided that is not the way it's going to go, because I want to be able to tailor each mentorship circle to the folks that are in it. So each week, based on the questions and the understanding that I have of the people in the group, that's how we're going to determine what we're going to look at next week, and lots of space for conversation and for questions and answers to be able to support people in, like, coming to their own psychicness and being able to be a little bit more grounded and to understand what they're experiencing a little bit more. So,
and I love that you're letting it be very spirit led. So whatever feels right in that time, and you're not making it like a marketing pitch where everybody goes through the same experience. You're truly being present there and letting spirit lead.
It's a circle.
Yeah.
It feels a little scary, a little bit harder to market. Like you said, it's a little harder to market that way, because it's like, what are we going to offer? I don't know. You tell me. Come and tell me what you want to know, and that's what we'll learn, right?
However, though, I think word of mouth and your sincerity and your authenticity, people are going to come, and that's going to be the joy of it. That would be the joy of it for me.
Yeah, one of the things that we've learned across the time is that, just as you said earlier, PERI, people tend to come to you with matching pictures, right? And so I run energy circles in Australia, and when they get together, it is so surprising what the matching pictures of the 6 random people that walk in the door have. And one will open their mouth and say, oh, you know, very quietly, this is an issue, and everyone's like, me too, me too, me too. Yeah. So you do find that, you know, you go into these things, and if the timing feels right, I will pretty much guarantee that everyone in that, you know, up to 10 people will be there for a reason. It's not like a random.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't mention, but these will be via Zoom also. At some point, I'll be having some in person here in Tacoma. But for starting, I want to be able to open it up to people around the world, to be able to come and have a little bit of time together and expand our awareness of energy together and have conversations about energy together.
That's amazing. Nettie, did you have any more questions?
No, I just want to say that I probably sounded like I was over pushing the PERI thing, but I honestly, you are absolutely amazing. Like, you know, every friend that I have recommended to see you has come back, and they just want more PERI. it's just like, you know, they've got the psychic Peri bug. And I love that you're so available. I know that we can watch you. I've seen you on Facebook, and I know that you're coming onto YouTube soon, which is even more exciting. So we can follow you on that too. And the more that people will watch you, the more they realize that you are just a human being with an amazing ability to contact the other person's spirit and help you, you know, unblock a few things. And I just want to, you know, I'm everything psychic Peri. Thank you.
Yeah, she speaks very, very highly of you, Peri. So thank you so much for joining us. If you want to book a reading with Peri, it's at psychicperi.com. She does readings, art, and mentorship circles, and she can be found on Facebook at Peri Beals, Peri, last name Beeles. And thank you again so much for joining us, and it was lovely to see you as well, Letty.